The theme of today's meeting is nostalgia. And for many of us, all of us, in fact, perhaps today, nostalgia is thinking about the times before Corona, in the times after dexamethasone. You can figure it out for yourselves. When we could meet, greet, eat, and even hug each other at TMDs. Now we have new variants of our meetings. The meeting itself has mutated. And it's quite strange how we hold on to the pieces of the past while we wait for our futures. And this is not said by me. This is said by a person called Ali Condi. And I picked it up from the net. And when you look at the sentence itself, it is strange how we hold on to the pieces of the past while we wait for our futures. We hardly ever live in the present. And I think that defines nostalgia, why we look at the past always to define our futures. And we don't look at the present to really chart the future course. Well, that's a very wide subject, and I have to speak later in the day, so let me not digress. Let me get back to today's meet. The tears can come later at the end of the meet. The rules of the engagement are obviously keep your mics muted, keep your videos on. Everybody is handsome, beautiful, no matter the age. And I'm sure from the waist upwards, all are well dressed. So there's nothing to worry about. Either way, we're going to have a great meeting with Pawan Bhandarkar as the TMOD. Very erudite is the right word, perhaps. So let me hand over to TM Lira for the presidential remarks. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Brian. I agree with you, and thank you for the astounding, subtle opening remarks. So good evening, Port Towners and guests. I think we have one guest here, I'm not sure. And even though the weather is cool, I still extend a warm and hearty welcome to this 116th Toastmasters meeting. This morning, a verse from the Holy Scripture caught my attention. It says, whatever you sow sparingly, you reap sparingly, and whatever you sow abundantly, you reap abundantly. And this, dear Toastmasters, I'm referring to you, to our club. I know the veterans and all the existing members have incredibly contributed to this club, but how could I forego the newbies who joined our club since October 2020? Their zeal, the enthusiasm, and the eagerness has definitely made us reap abundantly, isn't it, dear Toastmasters? I'm sure you'll agree with me because you're all muted. So friends, if we have any guests here today, may I ask, I think we have Pawan's guest here. May I ask Aishwarya or anybody else here to introduce themselves?
Shall I go?
Yes.
Hello, Toastmasters and guests. I'm Aishwarya. I'm from Toastmasters Club in Hubli, DET Toastmasters Club, and it's great to be here. I was here last time and I had a lot of fun, so I had to come back. It's nice seeing you all again, and I hope this meeting goes well. And also, all the best to Toastmaster Pawan.
Thank you, Aishwarya. Keep coming. Anybody else? Any other guests? There was Anu's guest was expected today, Anu Sharma's. I'm not sure whether she's here. If there's nobody, I will go forward. Anyway, Toastmasters, I'm sorry. My apologies for having called this special meeting today because we are back to back. Last week we had, and the following week we'll be having. But since we had 8 speakers, I couldn't accommodate all of them at one go. So that was the reason I had to divide this meeting into 2 parts, like today and on the 23rd. Now, before I go further, I would ask our chubby, bubbly, very naughty Toastmaster, a crooner, I would say, Toastmaster Lisha Pereira, to lead us in prayer. Over to you, Lisha.
When upon life's billows you are tempted tossed, when you are discouraged thinking all is lost, count your many blessings, name them one by one, and it will surprise you what the Lord hath done. Count your blessings, name them one by one. Count your blessings, see what God hath done. Count your blessings, name them one by one. Count your many blessings, see what God hath done. Are you ever burdened with the load of care? Just the crossing heavy you are called to bear. Count your many blessings, every doubt will fly, and you will keep singing as the days go by. Count your blessings, in them one by one. Count your blessings, see what God hath done. Count your blessings, name them one by one. Count your many blessings, see what God hath done.
Thank you, Lisha. Wasn't that a melodious prayer? And definitely, we all do count the blessings the Lord has showered upon us, especially now during this pandemic time. Thank you once again. Now it's a time for our members to share the achievements. The stage is all yours, dear Port Towners, to share, big or small, doesn't matter, but do share. Anybody?
Geeta, share your DTM achievements.
Not yet. Not yet ready. When it comes, I'll share.
She's on the road, like not a road to recovery, but a road to get the coveted award. Yes. Congratulations, Geeta. Yeah, and I had evaluated her yesterday at St. Joseph's Engineering College. So, Savita, hi,
Yes,
your achievement. Come on, blow your trumpet.
121 has achieved a distinguished status, and we are the first district in India to achieve it. So,
wow. Wow.
I still look forward for personally.
Oh, definitely.
As Geeta says, it's on the road.
Yeah, good. Yeah, congratulations.
Hopefully,
you deserve it. Yeah. Friends, on Friday, I get a call from St. Aloysius College. They had this e-Konkani valedictory function, and they told me to speak in Konkani. Okay, I thought they're the students of the college. And when I joined, what do I see? They are not students, they're all alumni for various ages all over the globe. And I was tongue-tied. And to speak about Toastmasters in that Toastmaster language, how could I speak in Konkani? It's not that I do not know Konkani, but to speak Konkani with all those translation of that Toastmasters, a little hard for me. Little Konkani, Kannada, English. However, I managed my 5 minutes, and I think I got a good feedback later. And to my surprise, soon after the meeting, I get a call from a lecturer from Shirvan College who is keen on joining the Konkani Toastmasters Club, and she's already joined that club. So at least I got one soul there. Okay, now.
To Leera's, yeah, we invite all of you to join the Konkani Toastmasters because we want to start it from the coming week. Thank you so much.
It is going really strong. Please join in. I'll send it.
You'll have to teach me Konkani, then I can join.
Okay, Naina. Okay, now I hand over the proceedings to the person or to the Toastmaster who came a month ago and stole our hearts. Okay, and now he's all set for his maiden entry as a Toastmaster of the day and stealing the show. Is it fair, Pawan Bhandarkar? Anyway, ode to the enthusiastic, ever cheerful Toastmaster of the day, Pawan Bhandarkar. The stage is yours.
Thank you, Madam, for making me blush as usual, I think. Madam President, fellow Port Towners and guests, thank you for that wonderful introduction. As a Toastmaster of the day, it is my responsibility to introduce the theme for the meeting. But before that, let me explain the agenda of the meeting to the guests of the day. This meeting is generally divided into 3 sessions. The first is the prepared speech session. The second is the table topic session. And the last is the evaluation and the feedback session. However, for today's meeting, I have planned a small bonus activity, if I may say so. And this activity was actually inspired by a meeting of Deshpande Education Trust Toastmasters that I had attended recently. And it happens to be the same club from which our guest for today is a member of. So this is how this activity is going to go. Throughout the meeting, I'm going to want you all to stay alert and pay attention to all the speeches that the various speakers are going to be giving. And at the end, after all the other sessions have ended, for 2 minutes, I'll be asking questions about interesting things that today's speakers spoke about. And these questions will be open to all. And by a show of hands, I'll be selecting 1 or 2 people to answer these questions. I hope you're all excited for this and keep your ears peeled throughout the meeting. During these difficult times, we've all caught ourselves reminiscing about the good old days, right? About the time when you could go for an evening walk and wave at your neighbor who was just coming back from a tough day at work. About when the phrase, let's catch up, did not involve Zoom IDs and mic checks. About the time when going out with your loved ones was not quite as risky and smiles were not hidden away behind masks. These exact thoughts were what inspired me to choose today's theme. The theme for today is nostalgia. Let me start by introducing the functionaries of the day. Distinguished Toastmaster Savita Salyan will be the general evaluator for today. The timer will be Toastmaster Bo Conroy Paul. Toastmaster Radhika Adappa will be counting our filler words as the R counter. Toastmaster Jan Norona will be serving as the topics master. The Sue Master will be Toastmaster Hilda Fernandez. And finally, Toastmaster Geeta Pereira will be today's grammarian, whom I now call upon to give us the word of the day. Over to you, madam.
Thank you, Toastmaster Pawan. I'll be doing some screen sharing. The word of the day is reminiscence. And the word reminiscence is a noun. It means memories, reflections, recollections. The other form of it is reminisce, is a verb. It means indulge in an enjoyable recollection of past events. This picture is a picture of me when I was 14, which was taken at Gulmarg, Kashmir. And the next picture, it shows our DTM Urmila ma'am, DTM Samina Nayak, and DTM Matilda Pinto. What these 2 pictures tell us, it helps us to think about, recollect our past. So how we can use this word reminisce or reminiscences? Most of the autographies are the reminiscences of the past written in a book. So reminiscences is a noun and reminisce is the verb. The next sentence, the WhatsApp groups have rejuvenated our friendship with our classmates and we spend time reminiscing about our school trip to North India. Another sentence, this picture will definitely help the Toastmasters here to reminisce about their roles 20 years ago. So I request all the speakers to use the word and make it more meaningful. Thank you.
Thank you, madam. I think that word is very, very appropriate given today's theme. So thank you for that. as I was saying, many of my most nostalgic memories, or should I put it in this way, as I reminisce about my childhood, a lot of the most memorable events that I have involve my mother, who would always push me to get on stage and face the audience. Be it elocutions, recitations, or extemporaries, she would always make sure that I was prepared and I would not let up until I had practiced my speeches to perfection. We now commence the first section of the meeting, where the four speakers will be delivering speeches that they have been similarly practicing to perfection. The first speaker is Debutante Toastmaster Vidya Rao, who will be evaluated by distinguished Toastmaster and incoming President Maria Feliz de Costa. When asked about what makes her nostalgic, Toastmaster Vidya mentioned about the monsoon in Mangalore and the smell of charcoal and wood burning. In fact, I think these things carry such a nostalgic aura with them inherently that they may have subconsciously influenced me into choosing this theme in the first place. I now hand over the control to the evaluator to describe the objectives of the speech.
Toastmaster Vidya Rao is on her icebreaker speech to introduce herself to the club and to learn the basic structure of public speaking. Her time is 4, 5, and 6 minutes. Let's listen to Vidya reminiscing about her life. Over to you, Toastmaster.
Thank you, madam. Toastmaster Vidya Rao, speech title, COVID times, it's me and a mother's rant. COVID times, it's me and a mother's rant. Toastmaster Vidya Rao.
Good evening, Toastmaster of the day, Mr. Pawan Bhandarkar, fellow Toastmasters and guests. For those who don't know me, my name is Arur Vidya Rao, and I manage a family-owned car dealership, Artha Honda. And like most of you here, I'm a bundle of joy created from my past experiences. A year ago, while I was amidst a team meeting, I received a video of my daughter plucking star fruit from the neighbor's compound. And to aid her in her little adventure was a friendly neighborhood grandma, Auntie Lily. The children had hovered all around her to get a bite of the star fruit. This moment was nostalgic, and I reminisced the good old childhood days. I grew up in Mangalore, in a patriarchal household, so to say, and lived in a large joint family until I was 7 years old. And like many of us here, playing outdoors was something that we did most often those days. Most of my childhood was spent cycling, plucking raw mangoes, bimbali, picking stones in and around the 5 houses belonging to different family members. If it wasn't that, I was the ball picker for a cricket match my cousins were playing, or I would be helping my grandma prune her canvas and bougainvillea plants, or pick up jasmine flowers, which she would then make into a beautiful garland and offer to God that evening. Almost every day, I returned rolling home at 6 p.m. sharp, while the boys continued to play until late. I often asked my mother why I wasn't allowed to stay out until late. And every time my mom would look at me very sweetly and answer, "Because you're a girl." When I introspect now, I realize most of my rebellious days were a culmination of many such incidents over the years. As I questioned almost everything that was followed so blindly. They've certainly made me strong, while some which gave me the tag, the difficult one. Fast forward and to the world we are in today, being a mother of two, a beautiful girl who's 7 years old and a boy who's 3.5 years old, I was angry and afraid for children to be locked inside the house with the fear of stepping outside without masks. But like most mothers, I took on the mammoth task of engaging and nurturing the children during the first lockdown. And to entertain myself and the brood, we signed up for yoga. We signed up for online Zumba. We watched the Ramayana, the Mahabharata, the Disney cartoons and the movies. We cooked up a storm in the kitchen, from the Dalgona coffee to the local patrode. And me and my daughter pulled out all traditional saris, and we participated in a sari challenge on Instagram. And boy, was it fun. Then came the second wave, and with more ferocity. Every other day, I heard of a friend, a neighbor, a relative, or an acquaintance either suffering or succumbing to the deadly disease. This time, me and the children had to have some serious conversation about life and death. And despite having both her parents at home, I can sense my daughter getting restless. She often asks me, Amma, when will the school begin? Amma, when can I see my friends again? So many questions, none of which I have answers to. And as my children stare at the empty roads from our balcony, the wrath of the tiny, not so quite living organism called the virus hits us to irritation. While I revere in the thought of normalcy, a childhood we all grew up in, I can only dream of a life where we walk mask-free into the parking lot, drop our children off to school every morning, walk into crowded stores, share a drink with a friend at a party, toss a hug at someone. But until then, I cultivate moments of solitude. Like Sadhguru says, mere tolerance will not cut it. We need to create an atmosphere of acceptance that embraces life in all its diversity. Thank you.
Thank you, madam. I think your speech made us all feel nostalgic because it was so relatable, regardless of what generation we may have been from.
I'm sorry, my children were talking in the background. I hope that wasn't much of a disturbance to all of you, but I'm sorry. I'm single parenting this week, so they are around me.
Thank you, madam. Up next, we have distinguished Toastmaster Vidya Shenoy, or Vidyaka as I fondly call her. She will be evaluated by Toastmaster Malini Mukund. Being an avid traveler, she says that she has been feeling especially nostalgic about her annual holidays. And it has been 2 years since she last packed her travel bags. I think we're on the same page about this because I've been waiting a whole year myself to finally go back to my office. So here's to waiting a little while longer. I now hand over the control to the evaluator to describe the objectives of the speech.
Thank you, TMOD of this evening. Good evening, everybody. DTM Vidya Shenoy is on path Strategic Relationships, Level 5. It's an elective speech. The purpose of this project is for the member to practice developing and presenting a longer speech. The speech title is Shine Your Light. So time allotted is 8 to 10 minutes. All the best, Vidya Shenoy. Now over to you, TMOD.
Thank you, Madam. Based on the speech objectives and for the sake of authenticity of the keynote address, we will now all assume the roles of graduates of a B school, with some of us as the faculty of said school. I have just given an elaborate introduction of the guest speaker. Distinguished Toastmaster Vidya Shenoy, speech title, Shine Your Light. Shine Your Light, Distinguished Toastmaster Vidya Shenoy.
Director, Dean, Faculty of Oceanic B School, delighted parents, and all you brave hearts, brand new entrants into this new, unpredictable world. Good evening to each one of you. It's a great pleasure to be addressing some of the most astute brains of our country. Let me firstly thank Mr. Pawan Bhandarkar for the very warm and generous introduction. When news of the Wuhan virus, as it was then called, trickled down to us in January 2020, it seemed like a distant event, a tiny ripple that would just pass by. However, by March 2020, we in India were completely locked down, an event I have never experienced in my 50 years of existence. And now, 16 months later, we are in a palpably worse situation, the stuff of dystopian nightmares that we have read in Pulp Fiction or watched on mega screens. When we were completely shut down, my mother took ill, fortunately not of COVID. Nonetheless, she required nursing and hospitalization, and the home and the heart needed to be managed, and that responsibility fell on yours truly. I have always prided myself to be someone who entered the kitchen merely as a consumer. Suddenly, the kitchen mitt was on the other hand, and I was expected to dish out every meal. Soon, my erstwhile pride at being somebody who lacked culinary skills quickly turned to embarrassment and then desperation. I realized then that cooking was no esoteric art, but an everyday essential skill that we all need to learn. Young men, I hope you heard that we all need to learn. Until this event, my profile read, Vidya Shenoy Life Skills Coach. But this setback made me feel like a hypocrite. Here I was who was not even equipped with the most basic life skill. How could I call myself that? This setback made me think. And today I call myself a behavioral trainer. Somebody once famous said, never waste a good crisis. So I use this to critically evaluate myself. It made me reflect personal or in your personal lives. What this pandemic has done for me is to completely turn on its head certain preconceived notions that I had about how this world functions or should function. For instance, social interaction. Would you have imagined that you would have gone months together without meeting your friends, having a drink together, attending college on the campus? Even this right now, you are listening to this in your virtual world, in front of a computer, and not in an auditorium where you would have been in your ceremonial convocation gown and cap. This kind of isolation drains the soul and has been a revelation for many. So what do we learn from this? The first important life lesson is be comfortable in your own skin, because you will be living with yourself the longest and the most. So make yourself interesting so that you are never desolate in your own company. I'm not going to get into giving you business gyan on how to survive during this stagnating economy. You have already been through numerous webinars, Zoom meetings, self-help strategies ad nauseum on these topics. But I will, however, ask you of one thing. Be humane. In the scramble to look after oneself, we often forget that there are those who are less privileged. And we, with our education and acumen, can make a difference with ones who are struggling. Most philosophies and religions emphasize that we must utilize a part of our earnings for charity. You will soon be earning your living. Take this to heart and start now. When you reminisce years later, you will look back on this one habit or practice of yours and feel good about it. The other thing that this pandemic has shattered is the illusion of permanence. Who would have thought that in last March, that 15 months later, we would still be in the same situation of lockdown, online classes, and literally zero social contact. Personally, I realized that postponing pleasures, the best porcelain, saving it for that grand dinner, holidays, or any event you postpone, or when you want to tell somebody something, is a futile exercise. We literally do not know what tomorrow will bring. Never has the term carpe diem meant more. In my favorite thinker Maya Angelou's immortal words, my mission in life is not merely to survive, but to thrive, and to do so with some passion, some compassion, some humor, and some style. In every problem, if you look hard enough, you will find an opportunity not to profiteer, but to better yourself as a human being. Someday, this darkness will be dispelled. And when you come out of it, you will find and discover yourself to be a more complete and a better human being. Get ready, because no matter what, lockdown or not, the world still needs young people. So when you go out there, remember that you must always shine your light. Shine your light bright. And this evening, enjoy your celebratory dinner. Have a good night. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster. Having graduated from university last year and having an online graduation, I think I really missed out on having such a wonderful keynote address at my college. So this is something that I think I'm going to miss being nostalgic about many years down the line and think of it in a different light. So thank you for having this moment here with us. The next speaker is distinguished Toastmaster Brian Fernandez. You know that feeling when you see somebody yawn, you feel the need to yawn yourself, right? I had experienced a similar phenomenon when I asked Toastmaster Brian about what he feels nostalgic about. And he said the aroma of pomfret curry. When I read this message, I started to feel so nostalgic and started to miss that smell so much that I ended up ordering it instantly. So today he is being evaluated by Toastmaster Frana Pinto. I will now hand over the control to the evaluator to describe the objectives of his speech.
DTM Brian Fernandez is on level 1, project 2, persuasive influence. The purpose statement is, the purpose of this project is for the member to present a speech on any topic, receive feedback, and apply the feedback to the second speech. The purpose of the speech is for the member to present a speech and receive feedback from the evaluator. The member will deliver a well-organized speech on any topic, focus on the member's primary speaking style, be sure to recommend improvements that the member can apply in the next speech. The speech may be humorous, informational, or any style that the member chooses. All the best to you, Brian. Good luck.
Thank you, madam.
Pawan?
Distinguished Toastmaster Brian Fernandez. Speech title, Now Why Would I Want to Get Married? Now, why would I want to get married? Distinguished Toastmaster Brian Fernandez.
Thank you, Toastmaster of the Day, Pawan Bhandarkar. When I wrote this speech, I was feeling nostalgic. And I started to reminisce, actually. And Toastmasters of the Day, I just wanted to ask myself first, am I too old to ask this question? Never. Age is just a number. Then I asked myself, am I too bold to ask this question? And I said, no, age makes me humbler. Or is it marriage that makes me humbler? I'm not sure. I think I am accompanied baggage, and many of you are. So we are all at that come pandemic stage, companionship, come pandemic stage. So asking the question is not too bad. You get some answers. But the real reason why I asked this question was I had to write an article for the News Karnataka, which is my news portal, which I am associated with. I put out a column every Tuesday, and this question popped into my mind. Now, why did it pop into my mind? It's not because I read the newspaper every day, because I've stopped buying the newspaper. But what I do actually is read the online version. And when I read the online versions, I find that the matrimonial ads are the most readable thing on the newspaper. Apart from the matrimonial ads, the only other thing that I can see are the obituaries, and that I'm not very much interested in. So I prefer the matrimonial ads. Now the matrimonial ads are very interesting, as I said. What do they ask you? I think one groom is asking another for a spouse, or a bride is asking for a spouse, one that is fully vaccinated. Unfortunately, not everybody's spelling is very good, and sometimes the ad spells the word vax as WAXXED or something like that. And I think the responses for that are pretty good. I'm not sure. I haven't put the ad. But there's also the additional information in the ad, which says that we would like to see if the family has got connections for a lifetime supply of masks, oxygen, remdesivir, amphotericin B. Now that's a lot of things to be asking for, but there is one matrimonial ad which I saw, which also offered for the full family this antibody cocktail, the new one from Roche that costs 60,000 a dose. I was wondering, in a matrimonial ad, if you talk about antibodies, actually matrimonials are all about bodies, not antibodies. Anyway, that's what interested me. Now, I was doing this survey. I was talking to my media colleagues and things like that. Most of them, like me, are accompanied baggage. But I thought, let me just ask my companion and find out what her opinion was. And she said the question is redundant. But in any case, I persisted. I told her, see, it's not an article. It's an article. It's for an article for News Karnataka. It's not an article of faith in the institution itself. I still have a strong faith in the institution when I said I do. And remember, I didn't say I'll try. So with that, I got the answer I deserved. Absolute silence. But anyway, I had to write the article, so I consulted a few of my media colleagues, as I said, and they came up with so many, suggestions and ideas, and as to why would anybody want to get married. I put them all together, I collated them, and I came to a conclusion. And I came to a conclusion on three things, basically, broadly. One is, all this time, the millennials were outside and about in the evenings, especially after work, on a weekend. There was no four walls around them, and there were no masks, and there was no social distance. Everything was proximity. But with this pandemic, for the last, as my fellow Toastmaster said, Vidya Shenoy, with this pandemic, everything has changed. And now they are locked inside four walls. The windows are open, so they're always online, but they're locked inside four walls. And right now, the best thing to do is to have a roof over your head, a roof of an institution. So that's one reason. The second reason that I could make out was expenses. Now, I have received a WhatsApp invite, and the invite is to me, but it also says you're invited, but you're not welcome. That's because of the restrictions. So that's also fine. But it's also because of the prices. I think petrol is touching the Burj Al Khalifa. It's already past the 100 mark. So the prices are also going up, and the couple thinks that, oh, okay, so it's going to cost us this much for a wedding. And the difference in the current wedding and the actual expenditure perhaps can go into our savings. So that's probably one of the reasons. And the third very important reason, obviously, is most of them are very technically savvy. And everything can be done online, from the ad to the horoscope, to the negotiation, to the courtship, and finally, probably the wedding also. After the wedding, of course, they have to go offline for a bit. And that's when the masks come off and the social distancing disappears. And that's when companionship can turn into that root cause effect, companionship, when the onion makes you cry. But you can deal with it. You can peel off the layers and put it in a pan, and both of you hold it together and see that the tears stop. But if they don't stop, you can always issue another ad. And when you issue another ad, it's people like us, the media, we survive. So for us, companionship is what we want you to do. The ads come out onto the newspapers like us, and we survive. And I hope I've answered the original question, why would I want to get married? Toastmaster. Thank you.
Thank you, Toastmaster. The final speaker for this section is Toastmaster Claudette Noronha. When asked about what makes her nostalgic, Toastmaster Claudette said music, olfactory associations, and old photographs. When she said olfactory associations, I was able to easily relate, because I had just finished eating the aromatic pomfret curry that I ordered earlier. So she will be evaluated today by Toastmaster Melora Pais. And I now hand over the control back to the evaluator to describe the objectives of the speech.
Thank you, Toastmaster Pawan. Toastmaster Claudette Noronha is on the pathway Persuasive Influence. She is making her second speech on level 1. The objective of this project is to present a speech on any topic, receive feedback, and apply the feedback to a second speech. The title of her speech is Switch to Change. Duration 5 to 7 minutes.
Thank you, Madam. Toastmaster Claudette Noronha, speech title, Switch to Change. Switch to Change, Toastmaster Claudette Noronha.
Thank you, Pawan. Did you ever imagine that one day you might walk into a bank with a mask on and ask for money? I didn't, and it has happened to me. Perhaps someday I will reminisce about it, but I'm not too sure. Good evening, Port Towners and guests. With the onslaught of the pandemic, all of us have had to switch our mindset to change. Change is not a four-letter word, but sometimes our reaction to it is, especially when you're standing in front of a sink piled high with dirty dishes, and you know there is no external help on its way to come and bail you out. With the global upheaval also came the thought, this situation is here to stay. Change or deal with the consequences. So my husband and I decided that we would wash the dish or the plate we were using as soon as we were done. It's worked well so far. My husband doesn't mind washing a few dishes or playing with water, depends on how you look at it. And mopping up the extra splashes are a breeze in comparison. Now, before you get more curious about my domestic challenges, let me broaden your horizon with a couple of interesting problems and how they were solved. In the year 1990, the organization Save the Children was invited by the local government of the province of Thanh Ho to fight malnutrition in children. Jerry Sternan was deputed to do the job in 6 months. He had limited resources, few people to help him, and did not know the language spoken in the villages by the people who had rural poverty, had unclean water, poor sanitization, and ignorance about nutrition. To strategize a situation like this with analyze, think, and change would have made no sense. You cannot fight ignorance with analytical thinking. So Jerry Sternan had to switch his mindset to think, feel, and change. He went into the village with his limited staff, and he asked every woman there to go and weigh the children and to measure their height. When he got the results, he realized that the factors that contributed to the difference were that these mothers who had healthier children were feeding their children rice, which was the main food, 4 times a day, as against the others who were feeding their children just twice. They also encouraged their children to eat and manually fed them when they were sick. And most importantly, they added vital nutrients in the form of tiny shrimp and crab that they found in the paddy fields and sweet potato greens that the richer folk looked down upon. He realized that making a formal announcement would make no sense whatsoever. So Jerry Sternan organized lunches with 10 families each, and he provided supplies of tiny shrimp and crab and sweet potato greens. He realized also that the women would be motivated to cooperate because of peer pressure and because the combination of rice with the extra nutrients would be tastier than plain rice. Slowly, the food culture in that village changed. The news spread to other villages, and over a period of time, by smelling and tasting and listening and watching, people began to change their food habits. And it is estimated that about 2.2 million people were healthier in the province of Thanh Ho. Jerry Sternan's strategy had worked. Sometimes there are also situations where you need a combination of analyze, think, change, and see, feel, and change. And I'm going to share one such example with you. John Stegner worked for a large manufacturing company, and he found that the company was wasting time making purchases. So he decided to tighten up the purchasing unit. He investigated gloves, work gloves that were being manufactured, that were being purchased for all the workers in the factory. He sent an intern to collect the gloves with the price tag from all the factories. And then he invited the directors into the conference room. What the directors saw when they entered the room was a big surprise. The conference table was piled high with 424 gloves with their price tags attached. And what was an even bigger surprise was the fact that every one of those gloves had a different price tag, and some differed by even $10. Immediately, the policy of the company for purchasing gloves changed. What John Stegner had done was he jolted the directors into seeing, feeling, and changing without any spreadsheets, data savings, or cost-cutting protocol. I know John Stegner's strategy worked, just like mine did. I know there is no comparison in terms of the mammoth size of problem they dealt with, but change the way you look at things, and the things you look at change. And as Robin Sharma said, everything is the hardest in the beginning, the messiest in the middle, and the best in the end. And that so applies to my kitchen sink and the dirty dishes. What do you think, Port Towners? Toastmaster.
Thank you, madam. With the permission of the general evaluator, I would like to now call upon the timer to report on the time taken by the speakers.
Yes. Before I start, I just want to make sure if I'm audible and visible. Thumbs up. Yes, thank you. Okay. Toastmaster Vidya Rao took 5 minutes 57 seconds. DTM Vidya Shinoy took 8 minutes 18 seconds. DTM Brian Fernandez took 6 minutes 44 seconds. And Toastmaster Claudette Norona took 7 minutes 8 seconds. All the speakers qualified. Yes.
Thank you, Toastmaster. The voting link has been put in the meeting chat, and I believe as well as in the WhatsApp group. So I request you to vote for the best prepared speech. The results will be announced at the end of the meeting. Now, I want you all to take a moment to think back and reminisce about a time in your life where you were put on the spot and had little time to think your way out of a tricky situation. Wouldn't you agree that moments like these are very hard to forget, regardless of the outcome? The table topic session is one that prepares us to be ready for exactly these moments, whenever they may arise. With this, I hand over the control of the topics to the topics master of the day, Toastmaster Jan Norona. Over to you, Jan.
Am I audible? Hello?
Yes, Jan. Carry on.
Okay, is my screen visible?
At the moment, it is blank.
Okay. Nostalgia is a powerful emotion and the only one that is capable of evoking multiple other emotions like joy, sadness, or just goosebumps. For most of us, the one place where nostalgia immediately transports us is our childhood, the golden period. So today, let's rewind those reminiscing times and share it with our fellow Toastmasters. I have a few simple questions relating to that golden age, and any one of you can volunteer to speak on them for 1 or 2 minutes. Who would like to go first?
I would. It's CK Ballal here.
Doctor, can you please choose a number from 1 to 4?
Yeah, I'd like to choose number 3.
My favorite storybook. A storybook you loved reading as a child and would read it all over again.
Okay. Yeah, as I reminisce about my childhood, and my reading habits, I was not really brought up much to read books. The only books I had as a child at school were the school prose books, and of course, the Chanda Mama, the magazine which used to come to our house in Delhi month after month. And the stories I remember are the stories from Chanda Mama. And that's the magazine rather than a storybook that I used to read and reminisce about. I'm really nostalgic about one of the very frightening stories that used to come in that book, which was about Betal. Now, Betal stories, those of you who have read Chanda Mama, is about a phantom type of person who has a dead body hanging on his shoulder, and he goes to the jungles and does various things and finds someone, and then eventually carries a dead body. The other stories which I remember from the magazine is those from Mahabharata and from Ramayana. And the one character from Ramayana which I really love the most and have continued to love even to this day is Hanuman, the Hanuman, who would sort of go places, bring the Sanjeevani booty which would give life to Lakshman when he lay injured, and have his tail all kind of wound up and stand higher than Ravana in Lanka. So such stories, and of course, the stories of Arjuna hitting the eye of the rotating fish as he looked at its image in oil and wins the hand of Draupadi at the wedding. And of course, she ends up marrying 5 instead of 1. That's as much as, Brian's topic today. Would I love to get married? I'm sure Draupadi never wanted to marry 5. She had a Swayamvar to marry only 1. And she ended up marrying 5. So much about my childhood memories about stories. And as I grew later, I can't see the timer. As I grew later, I kind of found out about the stories of Moby Dick. Moby Dick is one of the books I read. And then I read various other Gulliver's Travels and books like that. But the one that I really love and reminisce about is the Chanda Mama. Over to the topics master, Jan.
Thank you, Doctor. That was a lovely reminiscence of
I'm sorry,
your
Jan.
memories.
Could you just 1 minute? Could you do one thing? When a speaker starts talking, could you stop the sharing because they can't see the timer?
Yeah, I have texted Jan. Yeah, yes.
Okay. Yeah, who would like to go next?
Just stop the screen sharing, Jan.
Yeah, someone would like to go next.
Can I volunteer?
Yeah, sure. Which number, 1, 2, or 4?
I'll go with 4.
Naughty child. A funny experience of your childhood that you are remembered for.
Okay. A naughty child. Well, you wouldn't really call me that if you'd known me when I was a child. Was the typical obedient little girl, always. You could call me a sort of a people pleaser. That's where that came from. But there's one particular instance that I remember from when I was in, let's see, was it class 6? Yes, probably. Class 6. I was the kind of person who really went along with the flow, very easygoing person. And our school had strict rules against nail polishes or makeup of any kind. And teenage girls, we love makeup of any kind. We love all the beautiful different little lipsticks and the bright orange. I still remember from class 2, I had such a dark lipstick on, and there is a photo of it as evidence, and I regret so much. But I guess in that moment, I had the most fun I've ever had. So the naughty incident was I brought 2 nail polishes to school, which was, whoa, shocking event that day of all time. And me being a teacher's student, my mother taught us So I was in the same school as my mother who taught us English. And I have to say, it was the biggest news. It was like the headline of Green Valley National School. A teacher student brought nail polish to the school. And I guess that's the naughtiest thing I've ever done, which is to say probably that I haven't done a lot of things that might be considered interesting, but that's all I can remember right now. Thank you for your time.
Who would like to go next?
I'll go, Jan, Molly. I don't know what you have.
Molly, which number do you want? 1 or 2?
That's only left. Give me 2.
A lesson for life. What life lesson of childhood did you learn the hard way?
Good evening, Toastmasters and guests. As I reminisce about my childhood and become very nostalgic about the various things that I have done, there are many of you here who have seen me earlier, especially Lyra and Jan's mother herself. The lessons that I have learned in my childhood, I grew up with my brother and my cousins in my grandparents' house. And we used to travel by bus every day. The present Cambridge School was where was my bus stop. And those days we had only 2 buses, just the 21 number, and to come to Agnes and go back. So it was hard times. But what I learned in my childhood is never give up. My father told me, you have to stand up for yourself. And I think that's something that I learned. Growing up with a team of boys, I learned, actually, when Dr. Balal was speaking, I was thinking, not Aishwarya was speaking, naughty things. I used to climb trees. I used to play Maramanga. I used to swim with my brother and my cousins in the pond in my grandparents' house. And the lessons that you learned is never distinguish between yourself and the boys. Everyone should stand up and learn to live for themselves. And the same thing today, I continue and tell everyone, break the glass ceiling. When I stand in this present position as a director in an institute, in my leadership journey, I feel never give up on anything, break the ceiling and stand up for yourself. Thank you, Jan, for this wonderful opportunity.
Who would like to take the last one?
I would, Radhika.
Rain experience. When I see the rain outside, I remember when. You're on mute.
I don't have to reminisce much when it comes to rains, because the rains where I grew up in Bangalore, when absolutely nothing compared to the ones in Mangalore. So let me first of all start with how I experienced the Mangalore rains. I moved to Mangalore during the rains, and here you don't have time to run for shelter and you're soaking wet. And I remember trying to put my daughter into the school bus. I used to wrap her with a lot of huge raincoats. When she would come and tell me everybody made fun of her in school. And I would ask why. They would say, if you wear your Bata shoes that we used to wear in Bangalore, you're going to slip. And every day she would say, I need an umbrella. And I would argue with her, why do you need an umbrella? Because you need both your hands to get into the bus. But it was very hard lesson to learn that you want to be like your peers. And the raincoat can bring out a stench. Well, reminiscing in Bangalore, I would always remember that the rains would only shower when I was young, when I used to hold my school bags, just when we were about to leave school. I never understand why. What was that timing between somehow, maybe so that we can sit back and reminisce. So when I compare the Bangalore rains to the Mangalore rains, now I've got used to the Mangalore rains, but I must say I'm not that nostalgic, but I do miss my Bangalore rains because they were a little more gentler, and I prefer that. Thank you. Over to Toastmaster.
Thank you, everyone. I'm sure all of you went into your childhood mode to think of every topic and get some pleasure. I would like to end by saying, some days you wish you could go back in life, not to change anything, but to feel a few things twice. Thank you. Back to the TMOD of today.
Thank you very much, Toastmaster, for that very fruitful session. I now hand over the control of the meeting to the general evaluator as we enter the third session for evaluation and feedback. Over to you.
Thank you, Toastmaster Pawan Bhandarkar. Good evening, dear Toastmasters. I call upon the first evaluator, DTM Phyllis Maria de Costa. She'll be evaluating our first speaker, Vidya Rao.
Second, Jan had to ask for the timer's report. And the link is sent. I'm not sure.
Yeah, link has been put on the group. I'm putting it on the chat now.
Yes.
Yeah.
Savita can
The
ask.
timer, could you please give your report?
Yes, no problem. So for the table topic session, Toastmaster CK Ballar took 2 minutes 30 seconds. Toastmaster Aishwarya took 1 minute 39. DTM Molly Chaudhary took 1 minute 58 seconds, and Toastmaster Radhika Arapa took 1 minute 44 seconds. All the speakers qualified.
Thank you. Please vote for the best table topic speaker. Over to the evaluator, DTM Phyllis de Costa.
Can I interrupt, Savita? A picture, a picture of all of us.
Yeah, Geeta is helping. Geeta is helping with that. Yes. Please smile. Smile. Yes.
All the videos are not on.
Yeah, Malini Mukund, could you please switch on your video?
Kindly turn on your cameras, please.
Even Anu Sharma has not switched on. I think she may not be. Yeah, done.
Have patience.
Yeah.
Thank you, Geeta.
Thank you. Thank you.
Can I begin?
Yes.
Can I begin?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Vidya, it was such a joy to see my student of long ago reminiscing her past and breaking the ice so well in such an extraordinary manner and calling it the ranting of a mother. It was far from ranting. You were one of the best icebreaker. Yours was one of the best icebreaker speeches I have ever heard at Toastmasters. You did it so differently and so innovatively. You began with a little incident of a child, and then you moved on from incident to incident. And as you went with your transition from the beginning, middle to the end, you took us on a journey about your life that was so wonderful and so beautiful. Through your icebreaker speech, you gave us messages very succinctly. You zoomed us into your world your personality, your family. Confident, clear, charming, and cherubic in your delivery as you stood and gave your icebreaker speech. I could sense your eagerness to break the ice, and you did it with ease and elan. You had your own diverse idiolect, a good choice of words, and your delivery was smooth and excellent. Vidya, if you could only practice a little more, you would have emerged a first-class speaker. I see in you a brilliant competitor in the years to come. You could challenge yourself and have a tonal variety. You had a variety in pace. We wanted to hear more of what you said. And that is the best tribute a teacher can give a student. You camouflaged your nervousness. I can understand what an icebreaker speaker does. Wonderful. Vidya, I'm waiting to hear more from you, and I'm sure the Toastmasters feel the same. Over to the general evaluator.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, DTM Maria Feliz de Costa. Wonderful evaluation. We had a lot of adjectives. The grammarian has written possibly pages on your words used. So we have, I call upon the second evaluator, Toastmaster Malini Mukund, who would be evaluating DTM Vidyashana.
Thank you, Savita. Vidya Shenoy's speech had a profound message. It reminds me of Lord Jesus when he says, "I'm the light of the world. When whoever follows me will never walk in darkness, but will have the light of life." With DTM Vidya Shanai is a highly confident speaker. She's excited about her subject, and that feeling shines through her presentation. It was a keynote address. She exudes a level of confidence and sincerity in her emotion while communicating to her audience. She's a copious speaker, and she was willing to employ her sallies of wit when she told us to enjoy our dinner by raising a toast. She talks with grammatical accuracy and labored precision. She took the risk of taking the audience from one emotion to another, especially when she spoke about her mother taking ill and taking over the responsibility of the house. She was a craftsman with a word, dismantling her ideas one by one. She took us on an emotional roller coaster and made us reminisce our life since the past 16 months. She took upon running the show with the deserving pauses and stresses, like words such as months, she said, months of waiting. So it conveyed relevant message. It was like an emotional glue that connected the audience to her idea. All in all, it was a well-woven speech with impactful beginning and ending. The key takeaway was there was seamless transition of different scenes of emotion. Her speech had a beautiful content and amazing closure. But at the flip, if I have to suggest, she could have done away with looking down whilst delivering her speech and could have used more humor in her speech. And the use of vocabulary and the cherry on top was her the use of phrases like esoteric art, isolation, drains of soul, and view humane, etc. So I congratulate you, Vidya Shanai, for a very engrossing and stimulating speech.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you, Toastmaster Malini. Great evaluation. Now I call upon the third evaluator, that is Toastmaster Farana, who will be evaluating Toastmaster DTM Brian.
She sent a message on WhatsApp to say that she has a power failure and she would come in later.
Already, I have put it on the chat box. I think Savita didn't see.
Okay, I didn't see that. Thank you, Vidya. So I call upon Toastmaster Melora to evaluate Toastmaster Claudette.
Are you going outside?
Kindly mute yourselves.
Toastmaster Melora.
Sorry for the confusion. Toastmaster Claudette Norona, you are a true craftsman with words. I liked how you started off your speech with a question, giving the audiences something to think. And because the question was so relevant to the present times and very familiar to each one of us, I think it piqued our curiosity and also made us reminiscence the mask-free times, which was not very long ago. What I really liked was your smooth transition from your situation to the story of Jerry Sternin, and then back to John Stagner, and again to your situation. You showed us that you really dove into your project and you studied the topic to its core. Now, if I have to tell you what you could do to make this speech from good to great, for a speaker of your caliber, if your words were accompanied with a few facial gestures, I'm sure it would have got us all to feel, think, and change as well. And if you had a few hand gestures along with it, my, I guess it would have just been magical. But Toastmaster Claudette, I must give you credit for having applied the feedback that was given during one of your previous speeches regarding placing your camera. Today, I felt like you were making a very strong, impactful eye contact with each of us. So keep going, Toastmaster Claudette Norona, and all the best for all your future speeches. Thank you.
Savita, she's still not able. Once she comes back, she would. You can call for the other account and all that. She will come in a while. She's trying for a cell phone to log in for cell phone.
So I'll call upon the R counter. Our counter is Radhika, Toastmaster Radhika.
Thank you, General Evaluator DTM Savita. During the R counting, I realized there's hardly any R's by anyone, and because it looked quite unnatural, I feel I can say Pawan 1 R, Vidya Rao no R's absolutely, Vidya Shanai 1, Brian 1, Lolly 1, Bo 1, Jan 1, Dr. No R's, Aishwarya 1, Molly 2, Radhika 2, Sabita 1, Maria Di Costa, DTM Maria Di Costa, no R's, Toastmaster Malini Mukund 1, Melora, no R's. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Radhika. Can I call upon the grammarian, Toastmaster Geeta? I think this is the last time it will be Toastmaster Geeta. After this is DTM Geeta.
Thank you. Good evening, fellow Toastmasters. Today, the word of the day, reminisce or reminiscences. Most of the speakers, almost 90% of the speakers use the word. So I think it was worthwhile giving that word. Coming to the good usage, the Sergeant at Arms used the word digress. Let me not digress. The TMOD used the word even before I gave the word of the day, reminiscing. He also used the term extempore, practicing to perfection, nostalgic aura. Vidya Rao, you were a real wordsmith, that it was your icebreaker, but you had such good usage of words. Bundle of joy, patriarchal, introspect, culmination, mammoth task, ferocity, wrath of the virus, revered, mask-free, solitude, embrace life. It was a feast to listen to your words. Vidya Shanai, who is a real vocabularian, had a deluge of words. Braveheart, unpredictable, astute, dystopian, home and hearth, dish out, esoteric art, preconceived notion, revelation, desolate, business gyan, humane, acumen, illusion of permanence, postponing, porcelain, futile, carp diem. Great words, Vidya Shanai. Coming to Brian, I was enjoying his speech. Most of his speech was filled with wordplay. I liked the last part, companionship. He used the meaning of onion, which most of the women sort of have tears, and especially in marriage. Lolly, who is also a logophile, who loves to use good words, use the terms bail you out, global upheaval, broaden your horizon, analytical, mammoth. Jan had nice usage of words, evoking, golden age, wonder years, go back in life, childhood mode. Aishwarya used the phrase went with the flow. Molly had the phrase break the glass ceiling. Phyllis, our philosopher and mentor, had great terms, extraordinary, succinctly, zoomed into the world, confidence, cherubic, clear, ease and elan, diverse, idiolect. I'm yet to check the meaning, idiolect, competitor. Malini Mukund had good usage too, grammatical accuracy. Melora used the term piqued our curiosity to its core, good to great. Today it was a feast. Learned a lot of words. Over to you, General Evaluator.
Thank you, Toastmaster Geeta.
Prana is here.
Prana is here, okay. I call upon Toastmaster Prana to evaluate Brian's speech, ETM Brian's speech.
Good evening, Toastmasters, and Brian in particular. Your speech reminded me of the movie Fiddler on the Roof, in which Tavia says, do you still love me? And Golda replies and says, after 25 years, what a silly question to ask. I've been cleaning and washing your clothes, I've been cleaning your house, and what is this question? Do you love me? Well, to get back to your speech after 25 years, that you were reminiscing nostalgically about this was so good to hear. You really kept the flow and you kept our interest throughout. And I was very happy that you started with a question. Am I too old to ask this question? And then you continued to say, no, yes, I made me humbler, but I still can ask it. I enjoyed the pandemic ship which you used, I thought that was a beautiful way to express our present situation. And you use puns in such a beautiful way. Always the question of vaccinated and waxed, the question of bodies and antibodies cocktail, when you actually need the body and you don't need the antibodies where marriage is concerned. And your sense of humor, it's always so, I mean, it's so good to hear you. With your colleagues, how you collated that the four walls and the roof were what we read right now. The clarity with which you expressed yourself was also very nice to listen. You held our interest throughout. You had a great speech, Brian, but when I see the Toastmasters at the speech contest levels, I see they always use some props and they have something to enhance their speech. And so since you spoke so much about the mobile, your word sack, you could have shown this as a prop. When you showed the mask, you could have used this. It makes a difference, you see, when you put it on and take it off. And a little bit with your expression. So these are the recommendations I can give you, that you use some props, that you are able to make a little difference in your voice modulation, put up your hands, some gestures. Oh, there was no reply from my wife, something like that. So that would really give an added value to your speech. But I really enjoyed your speech, Brian. And as always, I look forward to the puns and to the companionship. And when you go home today, do ask your wife the question that Tavia asked Golda. Do you still love me? Do you still love me? Thank you.
Utkarsh, battery, please let me know. Oh shit, I thought you fixed it, Utkarsh. And it was my turn to speak. Please come here.
Savita, hi. Gentle evaluator. Unmute. Unmute, Savita.
Sorry. Yeah, thank you. Now, please, the timer, can I know the timing report, Bo?
Yes. So for the evaluators, DTM Maria Phyllis D'Souza took 3 minutes 18 seconds. Toastmaster Malini Mukund took 2 minutes 57 seconds. Toastmaster Frana Pinto took 1 minute 44 seconds. And Toastmaster Melora Paez took 3 minutes 2 seconds. All the evaluators qualified.
Both the red flag I could see, was it not 3 minutes?
It was exactly, oh, sorry, it was exactly 3 minutes 2 seconds. Sorry, yeah.
Thank you, Bo. Brian, have you launched the voting there? Okay, please vote for the best evaluator.
Taker or that's late.
Yeah, and even the role takers. For the general report, yeah. We had a wonderful meeting today, and for me it was literally a feast, because I've been almost I didn't sit through an entire meeting maybe in this full year. So if I have to reminisce or get nostalgic, is the time when I used to attend the in-person meeting, and somehow this full year, the pandemic year, I have not been able to attend the club meetings, and I thank Lyra for giving me a role, and that's also general evaluator, and I had to sit through the whole meeting. Thank you. We had the Sergeant at Arms opening remark, remembering the days before Corona, and as I just told you, I reminisce the days when I used to attend meetings, and I don't think I should miss any when it was in person. We had the bubbly, vivacious President Lyra in her own style, welcoming the members, and And even before, the Toastmaster of the day could take over. And many members here are new to me. In fact, I've become an alien to you all. Seeing that she spoke about Pawan Bhandarkar, and she said that you steal the show. And I was wondering, what is she saying? He's a new member, just 1 month that he's been here. And before the meeting only, she gives, a compliment, but you really stole the show. You were very good. I love the, the methodical way you went. You were simply fantastic. You've done really well as a Toastmaster of the day. We've all engaged and engrossed, and wonderful to see a youngster being so methodical. We had great speeches today, and I felt all were words with the speakers, the evaluators, and wonderful words and adjectives. I don't know. I mean, we could literally, it would go on pages if we had to write down. And somehow all the topics were so relatable, and the speakers could, somehow bring it to, I would say, related to today's time. And I don't know, it's a coincidence, but all 4 speakers did that. It was so contemporary. So great speeches. And we had great evaluations too. All the evaluators not only highlighted the values and the great qualities of the speech, but even gently could to give them their could speak on and give them some suggestions. The topic master. The topic master, I loved your pictures and the topic, and even you had such apt topics. There's one, I think that's your childhood where everyone can get nostalgic, and topics where anybody could speak on. So wonderful, wonderful, Jan, done really well. If I have read your prayer, although I was not there for that meeting, and I mean, this doesn't come as a surprise to me. Great work. We had the R counter who did mention that it was very difficult to get the hours of this thing, and I'm so happy that I'm the last speaker and she doesn't get a chance to pick on me, because then it would run in pages. And there she made an attempt to just nitpick 1 or 2. Great work by Bo as a timer, very proficient. Very good meeting, and I'm very happy to be here. In fact, I realized not attending meetings, I have lost the flow, or I have forgotten at times to ask for the timer's report, or even to speak or ask for members to vote. So I thank Lyra again for this the role, for giving me the general matters role. Thank you. Over to you, Toastmaster of the day, Pawan.
Thank you, madam, and thank you to all the functionaries and the evaluators. But last but not least, I would like to present this short bonus activity that I had planned. To recap, I had mentioned that I would be asking some questions related to interesting points mentioned by today's speakers. These questions will be open to all but the original speaker. So if you know the answer, please raise your hand so that I can know who to point out. The first question is this. In her debut icebreaker, Toastmaster Vidya Rao mentioned this fruit that the children used to pluck from trees. So what is that fruit? Please raise your hands if you know the answer.
Star fruit.
Bimbli.
Star fruit. Star fruit. Star fruit.
Yes, the correct answer was star fruit, but I am not sure who answered because I didn't see a raise of hand.
All of us.
I raised my hand and I answered. I raised my hand.
Thank you, madam.
And I answered.
I think I should be asking more difficult questions then.
I think so.
So okay, let me try something more difficult then. Toastmaster Claudette mentioned this organization that was invited to Kanpur in 1990. What is the name of that organization?
Save the Children. Save the Children.
Yes. Dr. C.K. Balal gets it. Thank you, sir. That's the right answer. Now for the final question that I'll be asking. This is from the person who just answered. Distinguished Toastmaster Dr. Ballal mentioned these stories that he loved reading as a kid from the Chandamama magazine. No, wait. It was from the. I want the name of the. Yes. Betal was the right answer.
We have read those, so we remember. We reminisce the past.
Then shall I ask one more question? So this is a little more. This is a lot more humorous one. Toastmaster Brian mentioned that on the matrimonial advertisements, they were asking for these things. What were those things that the ads were asking for?
Companion.
Companion and waxed people.
Yes. There were a plethora of things that were being asked, but those are the most important ones. They were looking for vaccinated people,
mask, antibody cocktail.
Yes, exactly. I think you're all extremely good
Bodies are
listeners.
important. Nobody wants anti. He said it, not me. He said it.
Thank you, everybody. So thank you to everybody who participated. And I think you've all proved that listening is just as important as a part of being a communicator. And I think I have to set the bar a lot higher next time and ask much more intricate questions to make it more challenging. So thank you, everybody. And before I leave for today as a TMOD, I would like to say a quote from one of my favorite shows ever, from The Office. In this show, and the actor Ed Helms says this: "I wish there was a way to know that you're in the good old days before you've already left them." And this is something that I hope I was able to capture in today's theme. Thank you, everybody. I now hand over the control back to the president to announce the results and conclude for today.
Just 1 minute. I just forgot to mention the melodious prayer by Lisha. She was very innovative. Thank you. And even the grammarian who could pick on all the words and she could recall and so that we could register. Sorry, as I told you, I've missed attending meetings, so I've missed the flow. So I've got to get back into it. Thank you.
Thank you, Pawan. Thank you, Savita. Amazing job, Pawan. I lost connectivity for a while and now I'm watching it my mobile.
Can I request one more photograph?
Yes, sure. Yeah. But many videos are off. Vidya Rao but anyway, I'll take another picture. Yeah.
No, put the videos on. Let them put the videos on.
Okay. Wait. Radhika.
Smile.
Smile. Yeah, really. Yes. Melora is not there. Yeah. Yes, done.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Geeta. Thank you. Yes. What shall I say? I can't get the right adjective. Anyway, it was a fantastic, fantabulous meeting. Oh my God. Now I need to refer the dictionary or go to Google and search for the meanings. Thank you, Toastmasters. As I said, you are indeed incredible. Today, the best speaker, now coming to the winners, it was very difficult for us to vote, but we have to do justice. The best speaker of the evening is debutant, Toastmaster Vidya Rao. I think every newbie who speaks as a debutant goes home as a winner. Congratulations. And best table topic speaker was Dr. CK, who spoke on what is that? Chandamama. I remember those. I remember that Betala with the thing on the shoulder. I get so scared when I see those pictures. And there's a tie between the evaluators. We have DTM Phyllis and Toastmaster Frana as a tie. So congratulations. So both of you are winners. And who could be the best role taker other than our own debutant performer? I'll clearly say Toastmaster Pawan Bhandarkar. Even today, You have taken it, swept it off, Pawan. Good job. And thank you, dear Toastmasters, for this wonderful meeting. And we'll be meeting again on 23rd. Let's see what is in store for me and what is in store for all of us. So it was a wonderful year and I'm already nostalgic. Now, Dr. Siki asked me yesterday, Lyra, are you feeling sad that you're stepping down? I said, Doctor, of course, who doesn't want the glory? Who doesn't want the Toastmasters? Of course, everyone does. But as it is a fact, I have to step down and leave the chair to the president-elect to take over. So friends, let's meet again on 23rd. It will be an informal meeting. We'll just have speeches and evaluation. That's all, and nothing more than that. And we'll have fun and fun. We'll chit chat, we'll sing, and we can even dive to the numbers being played. So thank you. I hereby adjourn the meeting. Thank you, one and all.
Madam President, if you don't want to, you don't need to. We can have an election. Why don't you set a precedent? Why don't you do things differently?
I want to speak a line about Vidya Shenoy in particular. Vidya Shenoy had promised me last year, like when I took over as a president, she said, this path, before you step down, I am going to give this path to you as a gift. And she has kept to her word, and next meeting she'll be completing her part. So that day I'll stand up and give you a standing ovation, dear friend.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Vidya. It's so nice to have such earnest members in our Toastmasters Club. A year which passed by with not much trouble at all. Thank you.
Lyra, I would like to say that it's by my laptop, it is 7:42. It's actually at 7:40 that you ended. And I think first time we have had 4 speeches and 4 table topics and everything that we usually have, but still managed to finish it within 1 hour, 40 minutes. I think mainly it goes to all the role takers and especially the TMOD of the day, first timer, but without a single flaw. So it is incredible that he has taken us through the meeting without a single flaw. So a special word of congratulations to our TMOD and all the role takers who have managed the show so beautifully. I will now stop recording. Sorry, I forgot to do that before I started speaking.
Oh, ma'am, I wouldn't have said that. You should have stopped it. I didn't know the recording was on.